Welcome to Credentialing Chronicles, where we spill the doctor's tea, honey, hotter than your morning coffee.
And we're spilling it across America, state by state and license by license.
Ooh, I'm Shannen, and honey, she is Nyleen, and we are just a couple of sassy credentialing pros with front row seats to all this crazy chaos.
Yes, from coast to coast, fraud scandals to hospital drama they hoped you'd never find.
Yeah, but we find it, girl. So grab your coffee, your compliance checklist, and what, Nyleen?
And let's get into it.
Hell yeah. Well, Nyleen and Shannen sitting there talking about you while you pull up a chair. They holding everybody.
Welcome back. This is Credentialing Chronicles, where we don't whisper about failures. We spell them out. So today, Shannen, where are we going?
To the beautiful state of Connecticut.
Oh, yes. Close to where I used to live and close to Jersey. Okay. So it's a state that, well, I guess on paper looks pristine and like really fancy people live there.
Beautiful.
Elite hospitals, colleges, powerful boards, and of course, reputations that nobody wants to question.
Nobody.
Right. But what if that purity hides a systemic failure?
Ooh, that's right. Connecticut doesn't scream scandal, baby. It whispers it, as we've seen so many things that are being whispered. In this episode, we're going deeper than ever before, really taking a look into cases that don't just shock families, but we're really looking at the cracks in credentialing, disclosure questions, everybody's favorite thing, really going to break down disclosure questions, what that means, ethics, and really, here's the question, who is legally accountable for things?
Oh, that is a really good question. And you know, at the conference I was at today, somebody brought that up. And it's really interesting because especially with this whole AI world, it's like if an AI bot wrote it or did it or followed up on it, who's legally accountable? Anyway, so let's start at the beginning because we got a lot of tea to spill today.
Ooh.
Okay. So Connecticut ranks among the most credentialed states in the country. We all know, Northeast is populated. And yet in the past decade, this state has produced a staggering amount of cases, from crushing medical negligence verdicts to courtroom accountabilities for providers, hospitals, and full healthcare systems. And the credentialing question isn't why these things happened. It's how were they allowed, or how are they allowed to keep happening? And girl, we got some crazy stories and some crazy tea to spill.
Well, I think we should start where it all really matters, and where, we always ask, where does the problem start? But it's really the boardroom, right? Let's talk about the Connecticut Medical Examining Board. So again, this is the board that licenses and permits the medical doctors of osteopathic medicine, and physician's assistants in your state, in the Connecticut state, to actually practice. And so this board, it allows them to practice. It also is supposed to discipline them, do monitoring programs when there are discipline cases. And it's really what we're going to talk about today, is really showing a pattern when we're looking at the Connecticut Medical Board, right, Nyleen? Investigations, they take years?
What else? There's complaints.
Yeah, that it's just crazy. They're not publicly disclosed. I mean, and providers are allowed to keep practicing while serious questions loom over their head. So that's what we're asking today. That's what Nyleen is going to talk about. So, oh my goodness. What do we do, Nyleen?
Well, what does this really mean for MSPs? And one of the stories we're going to bring out is even more terrifying, with people practicing without licenses. But we can call credentialing verification, and yet we're often credentialing around unknown risks because there's things that are confidential, right? Things that we don't know as MSPs. If you have a private practice, you may not even have an MST, right? Or maybe
No.
there's unresolved allegations, and really that's not even clarity, that's liability. So we're going to put in the show notes where you can verify a doctor's license in Connecticut, and then also a link to the state medical board. So let's talk a little bit about aesthetics. I went on their website. Could we just say it looks like a little rudimentary? And I shared a picture for you of like what the Department of Health looks like. And, you know, it just looks a little funny to me. I mean, it doesn't look as clean. Remember we talked about California and how nice their board website
Beautiful.
looked, right? And it was like, file a complaint here. And you just like clicked right to it. Doesn't this look a little cumbersome? I mean, what are your takeaways? Look at this picture I just sent you guys. And if you guys can follow, just go to Connecticut Medical Board of Examiners. What do you see here?
I'm seeing that it looks like a contact us page. And then instead of it being like, hey, public, this is how you verify a doctor, it has their address. So are we supposed to go to your address first? And then if you're trying to click the exam information, I mean, it's still, you really have to go all the way down, Nyleen. Look how far. I mean, I could send them a letter. I could call them, press menu option 2, or I could even fax them before I could check online.
Right? And it's very confusing. I can't even tell where I can submit as a complaint as a patient. And if you were like license examination information, it doesn't say look up. Like I wish it would say look up, right? Look up license. That would make it a lot easier that I knew. You can't even barely tell that's a hyperlink. Why? Just because it's blue. The entire page is blue. Like very, very weird. So I would say not user-friendly at all. That's just our opinion. Take it or leave it. Y'all can decide for yourselves. Check it out. Take a look. Love your feedback. Let us know what you think.
I say Connecticut Medical Board do better. That's what I say, okay? Nyleen's politically correct.
Well, let's just talk a little bit, start spilling some tea. Let's talk about some cases that really changed Connecticut in detail. And it's a really, 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 really big hospital system over here. And they actually got sued for $32 million for a wrongful death. So our first story is one that every MSP, every risk manager and hospital executive should really understand. And this is a recent case, December 2025. A Connecticut judge awarded nearly $32 million to the parents of a premature baby who died after being fed cow-based formula products at a very famous hospital without informed consent.
Oh my God. Aren't babies not supposed to have cow milk until they're like 2 or at the very least 1 year old?
I don't know anything about how to feed babies appropriately because
Well,
I'm like,
I know that my babies, we never ever gave milk until they were at least 1 year old. Because I know Elia right now is about to turn 2, and she is drinking cow milk now, but she did not have any until she was at least 1 year old. Comment in the comments. Let us know. Do your babies have cow milk early? We don't know because, every mother's different, right?
Yeah, or like cow milk based products, but at least for a preemie, you'd be like extra careful of the type of formula that you're giving a baby. So that case went beyond routine medical malpractice, and that's because the court, after doing their investigation, found that the parents clearly instructed the hospital that their baby should only receive human milk due to the extreme prematurity of this baby. So the parents had given exact instructions as to what they wanted. Hospital staff added a bovine-based fortifier without discussing the risks or obtaining consent.
You better never give my baby no bovine. Bovine don't even sound good. What is bovine? If you never gave my baby no bovine. That word right there got me wanting to sue the dang hospital.
Well, what ended up happening, Shannen, is the baby developed, okay, ready for this one? Necrotizing enterocolitis.
That don't even sound good. Did you look it up? What does that mean? Explain it to me.
It's a devastating intestinal disease that can be linked to cow-based products in preemies.
No.
Yes, the baby died less than 3 months later.
From the bovine. Oh my God. It's not funny. That's horrible.
It's not funny, but it's horrible.
And who was just mixing it up for the babies? They just back there mixing it up. Who is doing that?
Yes, orders are so important, right? And so the judge ruled this wasn't just an error, it was a failure of informed consent and the proximate cause of the infant's death.
I mean, if we were doing like a mock trial, like Emily, remember Emily told us about the mock trial where they all do that? I'm right there too. I'm ruling it. You done lost that case for me. Because that verdict, it's monumental, right? The judge didn't just award damages, which is what everybody always wants to know. She explicitly said that the hospital, that her lack of informed consent literally set a national legal standard for NICU feeding decisions. And that is incredible because I never, imagine that a judge telling a major teaching hospital, okay, that you failed not just in a case, but in communicating a duty. I mean, that is just really, it's a legal duty.
Yeah, exactly. So let's move on to a year before, 2024, and it's called the $34 million. Again, we're still very high millions.
But I think we just need to say that this just happened, you guys. This was just verdict out in December of 2025, the case that we just talked about. So, I know that you hear these cases, but just know, if your baby's in the NICU, make sure that you write that on the chart. Make sure that you say that, right? Explicitly. No bovine, right? I mean, how do they protect their baby? What do they do?
Yeah, exactly. And you as the patient, you don't see your patient's chart. You know how many releases you have to sign just to have access to your own chart? I mean, you have to trust the medical system. Unfortunately, you have to trust the nurses. You have to trust the physicians that are in there putting in the orders and executing those orders.
Yeah, no, I mean, but say that. No cow milk. Don't touch my baby. I mean, whatever you need to say, because you are the parent, you are the patient, you are the consumer. So sorry, you could take us now on our trip, but I just had to make sure patients knew that.
Yes, good PSA. So let's go on to another health system, another huge health system, and it's the $34 million wrong sperm case. So we're going to go back to 2024, yeah, when the Connecticut Supreme Court actually upheld a $34 million judgment against an educational health system where a patient underwent artificial insemination and was given sperm from a donor infected with, you get this, with cytomegalovirus.
What?
Yes.
You can say cytomegalovirus at any time, but what is cytomegalovirus? What is that? Tell us, listeners that have never even heard of that.
It's a virus that causes severe birth defects.
And do they test for that? Okay, so
well, you would think, I don't know.
Sperm, right?
They're supposed to test it, aren't they? I'm assuming they're supposed to test it for HIV or other viruses. I mean, don't they? I don't know. I mean, if you work in a sperm bank, please let us know what they do with the sperm. I didn't have the time to look up sperm bank rules, but please, when you give the sperm, do you have to check the sperm? What do you do with the sperm?
Yeah, do the people that give the sperm, if you can comment and say, hey, yes, I give my sperm, and then I have to sign a consent to check my sperm for virus. I mean, that would be, I'm just wondering, that's crazy that and so this baby came out with all these birth defects?
Well, the court said that the clinic failed to properly screen and disclose the risk. So I guess they don't check it, because if you were supposed to disclose that your baby could be infected with cytomegalovirus, I wonder how many other viruses, and I'm not saying you have to list every single virus, because I'm sure there's an infinite amount of viruses that could come along with sperm. But anyway, you still have to screen and disclose that these are things that could happen. And it's basically a system failure. MSPs don't get excuses for missed background checks. So you better believe that this one triggered a protocol review within this organization.
Oh, I'm sure. If you had never tested for megalocytovirus before, you're testing for it now, I bet. Really, when you're looking at it, Nyleen, I guess this is exactly why people get so uncomfortable, right? This case wasn't just about like one reckless decision or one reckless missed document. It was more about the process failing. Because if you're out here slinging sperm everywhere, talk about, come on down and get the sperm. You want to be pregnant, we got sperm. I feel like you should be out here saying, okay, well, we done tested this sperm and we know it don't have HIV, it don't have megalocytovirus, it don't have, I don't know, what else does it test for? Dyslexia?
Right. And the thing is artificial insemination really is not experimental anymore. It should be protocol driven. It has to be protocol driven. It's checklist driven, and it's supposed to be risk controlled. So when the Connecticut Supreme Court upheld the $34 million judgment against this health system, what they said was they were trying to say, like, you think you had systems in place, or whatever systems you had in place failed. They didn't work.
Yeah. And this is happening. Yeah.
And it's still happening. The donor should never have a cleared screening with, cytomegalovirus on record. And even if the risk somehow made it through, which already tells us something broke, informed consent should have stopped everything cold, because the patient should have said, oh, you're receiving sperm with this virus. Are you okay? Because you would have received sperm with knowing that it had that stuff in it.
Yeah, so if you giving me sperm with the cytomegalovirus, yeah, you better tell me that sperm got some cytomegalovirus. Are you kidding me? That's, yeah, I'm like, I had to really think about that, because I'm like, I feel like I wasn't informed either. That's the part people miss, is protocols, right? Protocols, right? That's, the Joint Commission, AAAHC, NCQA, all of these DNV, right? All of these organizations exist and give healthcare organizations protocols for credentialing, for, the temperature and the immunization refrigerators, all the processes, right? And everything, all areas of healthcare, and protocols exist so no single person in any situation gets to decide what's maybe okay to do, right? Because it should say, this is what you need to do, and then everybody follows that. And the same thing with MSPs, right? We don't get grace when we miss a verification or when we miss a date. We didn't get it signed on this date, or the dates are now too long, the attestation's too long. We don't get to say, well, it seemed low risk. We don't get to say, the system usually works, because that is the thing that MSPs follow to the point, is the red tape, and making sure that the term gatekeeper is a real term, because they truly are protecting the patients, making sure that none of those things fall through the cracks when we're looking at disclosure questions and different gaps and stuff. This case really is just a reminder, really, that processes aren't optional. They're not just suggestions, right? They're there because when systems fail quietly, families and patients and people's lives are what are paying. This is the reason why Credentialing Chronicles exists, because we wanted to share these type of stories with the community so that you understand how important credentialing is in your facilities, in your area.
Yes, girl. But I got to move on. You know why I got to move on? Because we're going to talk about my favorite.
Somebody murdered. She said, we're going to be the next best crime junkies, honey. She said, we're going to be the medical crime junkies, okay? Come on. What we talking about? Give me the murder.
Shout out to my crime junkie girls.
Because she love y'all.
No, so listen, I do love me some crime junkies. So, okay. So can we talk about our nurses? And I love nurses because I could never be a nurse. I don't ever want to be a nurse. I admire everything that they do. And I think one of the most dangerous jobs is home nurses. So this poor home nurse visits one of the scariest people. So in 2023, this visiting nurse was unfortunately murdered in the home of a patient in Connecticut. The man who killed her was a convicted sex
Oh
offender.
my God.
The state ended up paying $2.25 million in a settlement, acknowledging that safety systems failed drastically. Was there a risk assessment? Was there a safety protocol for home visits? Did the credentialing or onboarding process include background review checks for domestic safety or catch red flags as to who these poor nurses are visiting? And unfortunately, history really suggests it really didn't.
You know, this is an interesting thing for us to discuss, right? I mean, although it is devastating, right? Do nursing home and facilities, Nyleen, do background checks on the patient that the nurses are going to see? Or are they just background checking the nurses that are going into the patient's houses, right? Because you know those people are getting background checks. So, but I'm like, this is reverse. Like, how did they know that they was a sex offender, right? I can see that, like, it seems like this is something that should be looked into, right? I mean, do you agree? If you agree, please comment below. Let us know, because that means that before I send, you know, my home health person to your house, I have to background check your grandpa to make sure that he's not a sex offender, right?
Or convicted murderer.
Or a convicted murderer, right? And I mean, it should work two ways. I've been saying lately, because I have went through something, but you know, landlords, they want to do background checks on the people that like rent their house. I think we should be allowed to do a background check on a landlord too, because it's like, I'm getting into a contract with you. You know what I'm saying? And so I could see how that would go in a home health situation, because even somebody that is a sex offender needs home health care sometimes, right? So there, I mean, man, that is just, you know, it's not a job, it's a trust, right? That you're going to go and you're helping this person, and that this person isn't going to kill you. And I could see how that truly failed this poor nurse. I mean, oh my goodness, it breaks my heart.
I know. And this is why so many nurses are getting burned out, you know, and this is why people leave bedside care. And this is why silence in systems isn't neutral. It really can be lethal. And she died because systems decided that danger was acceptable. So home healthcare agencies, what are we doing to keep our healthcare workers safe? I would love to hear if you are in that world.
I say, you know, GoPros, I even think of GoPro. You know, I mean, and sometimes, you know, you never know the situation of why somebody's needed, but sometimes the person is just a mean, cranky person, and the family don't want to deal with them. And so they hire a person, and then that person is abused from the mean and cranky. And on the same spectrum, y'all, I'm not saying it doesn't happen where somebody is truly disabled and then somebody goes into the home and abuses them as well. It's just opening the conversation of, how do we prevent this? I mean, is there like behavioral assessments that happen before nurses go in? I mean, how would you even think of helping that situation, right?
Let's move on, because I got too much tea to spill, girl.
Okay,
I got a $20 million botched anesthesia case. Connecticut is just delivering. And these are recent cases. 2025 medical negligence suit. A jury awarded $20 million against anesthesiologists after routine surgery turned fatal. The plaintiff's family alleged that anesthesiology staff failed to recognize ongoing bleeding, leading to hemorrhagic shock and respiratory failure.
Oh my goodness.
Apparently, the daughter said that it was more about the numbers, and she was advocating pretty much for every patient who walks into a hospital and expects to come out safe. So what ended up happening was this patient went in for a sigmoid colon resection, during which he started bleeding internally. And again, this is according to clinician.com. And so the lawsuit claimed that anesthesiology staff and the surgical team failed to recognize and respond to obvious signs of deteriorating health, resulting in untreated hemorrhagic shock and death, according to WFSB and clinician.com. And so what ended up happening was the jury held both the hospital and the anesthesia group responsible for the death, assigning 85% of the fault to the hospital And so, yeah, so the damages broke down to $20 million award, $5 million for wrongful death, and $15 million for the loss of the decedent's employment of life, according to clinician.com.
I mean, you know that lawsuits, they're always going to go to the deep, deep, deep pockets. They're going to try to get every penny they can because, that's just, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. And so when we talk about credentialing and what kind of physicians we're letting into the operating room, guys, this matters because these cases happen and we're here to protect the institution and the physicians because everybody in that operating room, I'm sure, was named in that lawsuit. Everybody that touched the patient.
Well, remember the guy that you told me about last week was playing damn bingo, the anesthesiologist. Remember? I still haven't gotten that out of my head.
Okay, so girl, I gotta do the next case. Like, oh my goodness. So this one actually had popped up on my Instagram because, now we get like all the tea from all this stuff. And it just so happened, this one popped up on my Instagram and I was like, oh my goodness, we definitely have to talk about this, which is, girl, we have another unlicensed person practicing medicine up here in Connecticut.
Oh my goodness.
This one's going to make your stomach drop because it didn't happen fast. And it didn't happen quietly. It had been going on for years. According to prosecutors, the owner of 2 medical practices in Connecticut is facing serious fraud charges after allegedly allowing an unlicensed employee to treat patients for years. He had an entire practice, girl, while at the same time billing Medicaid as if the licensed physician had been providing the care. So he was smart. He was letting the guy do the work. And then he was billing as if he was doing the work. Because, of course, Medicaid is going to know if you're billing under a fake NPI, right? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just a temporary staffing issue. This wasn't a misunderstanding. Investigators say this went on, girl, for more than 4 years.
Well, when nurse practitioners or PAs go in and work with a physician, the physician sometimes will teach them how to do different procedures in office procedures. And so they'll teach them how to like remove a bunion or, how to just do different like procedures like that. And then, they bill out for them, usually the PA will bill out or something like that. But if they can teach a PA or an NP to do that, I'm sure you could teach Bob, a medical assistant, to do that as well, correct?
Anything is learnable, but you still have to have a license to practice anything.
No, I know that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, I could see how they did that. They taught Jack how to do it. And yeah.
Absolutely. Well, during that time, this unlicensed person was giving injections, conducting physical exams, prescribing medication.
He was a doctor.
And girl, he was treating patients independently. Like walking in, I'm a doctor. What? And what happens is patients thought they were actually being treated by a licensed medical professional. That is fraud. You can't impersonate a doctor. You can't impersonate a police officer. You just can't do that. Meanwhile, the practice owner allegedly, because this is still all allegedly, it's all brand new, submitted claims to the Connecticut's Medicaid program stating that he actually had provided the services.
No, he not out here lying.
Girl. So according to the court documents, the alleged scheme actually began back in 2021 and then continued through March of last year when finally investigators uncovered what was happening. Apparently, prosecutors described this as a fraud scheme because obviously he was saying he did something that he didn't. So you obviously put patients directly in risk.
Yes.
Right. You're defrauding government programs. You can't do that. Don't mess with Medicare and Medicaid, girl.
I know. CMS don't play. They want all their money back.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They face multiple felony charges, including charges that carry a potential 20-year prison sentence. And here's the detail that really makes it more unsettling is the practice owner didn't just operate one clinic, girl. He owned more than one medical practice. So it really raised serious concerns about how widespread this conduct must have been. This wasn't hidden medicine. I mean, he was doing this.
Yeah, no, this is what he did. This was his practice. Yeah. I mean, and then he's operating more than one clinic. I mean, he was like, oh, I need a couple of clinics now to run this out of, So, I mean, yeah, the fraud was prevalent.
Yes. So Shannen, so bring it back down. Let's talk about credentialing and process breakdown.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I mean, this is one of those cases where you don't need nuances, you really need honesty. And I mean, that's really what we need in everything, because nothing about this require complexity. An unlicensed individual should never make it past day one in a healthcare setting. Like Nyleen said, even smaller practices, they don't have credentialing staff, but hopefully, their office manager or whoever is doing a credentialing and ensuring that they do have.
Exactly. Who's working in this office?
And not just, we know that that's Pat, but I mean, who is Pat, right? What is Pat certified to do? What is that Pat licensed to do? I mean, that means that multiple systems either failed or were deliberately ignored. And when you're looking at, well, what systems are you talking about? Let me explain that to you. License verification, scope of practice enforcement, ongoing monitoring, which is a huge thing in healthcare, supervision documents, because every doctor that is tied to say that they want to supervise somebody, there has to be an established agreement between them. And then really, honestly, billing compliance checks. Because it's like, how is the doctor doing 9 bunions in a day? So that's at 4 different facilities, right? I mean, those are things that you have to look, because those are things that an auditor are going to look for. But again, this survived for 4 years, Nyleen, 4 years. What happens in 4 years is really what tell us what happens in 4 years.
Well, you have obviously recredentialing cycles. You have insurance companies coming up asking for documentation of who's treating the patients. Audits. You have audits during that time. You have Medicaid claims that are coming in and out. And then you have people obviously working like, oh my God, nobody stopped to ask the question. Like normally doctors have like their licenses, on their wall or something like that. So this tells us it's really not just a one-time mistake. It was like institutional permission.
I mean, yeah, because, right, somebody had to schedule these individuals to see the patients. They had to give them access to medicine and the prescription pad. They had to allow them into exam rooms. They had to say, okay, now you're going to see who? Dr. Pat? I mean, who? Nurse practitioner Pat? I mean, all providers have some title. And then, we have to allow documentation under a licensed provider name. I mean, that is fraud. And Medicaid claims don't submit themselves. Let's be honest. People submit that. And the biggest part that a lot of patients don't understand is that every claim is an attestation that the licensed care was provided to that person.
Oh, that's a good one, Shannen. That's a really good point, because if every claim that you do is you're basically attesting that the doctor actually was the one who saw the patient. Wow, that's a really good point.
Yeah, and it's true, right? Because especially in the smaller or privately owned practices, that familiarity replaces verification, because it's like, well, that person's been doing it all this time. That trust replaces the compliance, and we're always done it this way. That's what they say is the number one, killer in all organizations, is when you say we've always done it this way.
Tell me about it. And this is why credentialing exists. And like we said, it wasn't in this primary care office. Obviously, you're not doing credentialing in the way that you would in a hospital, but at least anybody that's working in a medical practice, you are doing some kind of level of credentialing. And that's why it prevents exactly this, to ensure patients know who is treating them, and ensure payers know who they are paying, and to ensure leadership can't later say, oh, well, we don't know, right? Because here's the truth, and unfortunately it's uncomfortable, is you don't accidentally allow an unlicensed medical person to practice for 4 years. It does not happen accidentally.
No, it does not.
You allow it, right?
You allow it, you permit it, you say it's okay, you bill with it. I mean, everything that you're doing and leading up to at that point is fraud. I mean, nothing about it is legal.
Mm-hmm. Girl, the stories just keep coming, and I don't know how much more we have time to share these stories. I can't keep up, girl. I have a doctor from 2015.
Oh, this is a late story.
Let's go back in time to not lose any relevance. Okay, 2015, we got a doctor, 53-year-old, sentenced to prison. Okay, 84 months in prison for illegally prescribing massive amounts of oxy and other narcotics outside accepted in his medical practice. Girl, I looked up his license. He had been practicing since 1993. and had to forcibly relinquish his license in 2015 after he was convicted.
That's appropriate for 2015. You know, everybody was on the Oxy in 2015. Lord, not me. I wasn't on the Oxy, but you know, it was a pandemic in 2015.
Oh my goodness. Okay, one more. I got a next heavy story. And I want to be really clear before we start that this isn't a rumor, it's not gossip, and it really is not hindsight bias. It's really based on public reporting, criminal filings, and an independent investigation involving a very fancy location-affiliated academic medical setting. And once you hear the timeline, you're going to understand why this case fundamentally changes how we talk about credentialing, monitoring, and institutional responsibility.
Yeah, this is one of those stories where you stop taking notes and you just sit with it for a moment and think about how you can ensure that things in your institute are working.
Yeah, so here's what we know. An independent university commissioned investigation found that a former faculty physician sexually assaulted at least 5 students, sexually harassed at least 8 others, and performed multiple inappropriate genital and rectal exams over 25 years.
25 years, girl.
Yes, and this is the part that should make every healthcare leader uncomfortable. Is the institution first learned about the allegations, the first one in 1994. Not 2018, not 2019, girl, 1994.
Yeah, 25 years tell me this wasn't a missed flag. It was a pattern. It was allowed. You know, it was kind of like what's going on with Epstein and all that stuff right now. I mean, you know, 25 years, you don't just let things pass away, right? You know, I mean, people have been reporting it, right? People were reporting it.
Exactly. And the investigation also revealed that the physician held an active medical license to practice in the state of Connecticut throughout this entire time. So it was an active license, yet the university did not report the physician to the state until 2019. So more than a year after the university sexual misconduct committee found him responsible for harassment and learned that he had performed a coercive rectal exam under the guise of medical care. So the explanation was the university said that they were incorrectly informed that the physician did not hold an active license.
That explanation is dang near devastating, Nyleen. Because licensure status is not hitting you guys. It's not proprietary. It's not, you don't have to pay for it. It's not classified. It's public record. And when your institution employs physicians, especially in an academic medical environment, you know, verifying licensure is not optional. It's fundamental. It's what credentialing does. That's what it's what we're supposed to do.
Exactly. And one of the students interviewed for the report said that they felt uneasy and ashamed after the exam, but they questioned their own instincts because, of course, the person performing the exam had a medical license. And, you know, that line really broke me because licensure really doesn't grant you access to unsafely and uncomfortably touch someone in a way that they don't want to be touched.
Yeah, I mean, and this is where credentialing becomes more than just paperwork. And every day for the rest of my life, I will scream it from the top of the mountains. This is why credentialing is something that everybody should know exists. Because once you know about misconduct, even one substantiated incident, monitoring should change. And so if you know something is happening, guess what? Then you can look for a pattern. Then you can see, you know, privileges should be reviewed, supervision should increase, access could be restricted, you know. But the investigation truly found that after learning of the misconduct, you all, guess what the institution did or didn't do? It failed to implement one meaningful monitoring mechanism. Literally none.
I'm sure they did.
For decades, they didn't even care what this guy did. It didn't even matter.
Well, what's also important here is what the institution said after the fact. They're like, oh, we were only aware of one inappropriate medical exam. I mean, come on. Really? Really?
It's the victims. Like, they don't care about victims. You know, they don't care about the patients. Because I guess if you look at it, if you have 5 million people that are coming to your institution, and you have 100 of them that are complaining of some sexual allegations, does it matter? Really, right? Or is it just a drop in the bucket, right? If 5 million people come in a year and you have 100 complaints about something, I mean, does it matter?
Exactly. And so the independent investigation found so many more people, by the way, because of course people took it seriously. And that's not being neutral. It's just failure. So can we just say 1 minute, because we need to talk about how to check a license. And before we close this out, we just need to say something, because everything we've unpacked, one truth is unavoidable. MSPs are being asked to do more with less information, under more scrutiny, with real liability.
And that's exactly why tools matter, right? I mean, because truly, I'm never going to tell you to just allow AI to do everything for you, right? Because you cannot protect patients, providers, or yourself with spreadsheets, sticky notes, crossed fingers. Some of the software that people are promising is just, you can't promise everything.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why this episode is really powered by Baton. And here's why that matters, because Baton wasn't built for like checkbox credentialing. It was built for a real world MSP chaos situation where we need to find out who this doctor is as quickly as possible.
Yes. And we're talking primary source verification that doesn't disappear into email threads, ongoing monitoring instead of one and done credentialing, clear audit trails, baby, when boards are silent and questions start flying, and visibility, my love, the kind MSPs are constantly denied from all other software organizations.
Because when something goes wrong, and Connecticut showed us how badly it can, the question is, did you mean well? Did you know? Can you prove it?
Exactly. Baton helps MSPs answer those questions before a courtroom even gets involved, you guys.
Because this isn't about convenience, it's about control, it's about documentation.
Because credentialing, as I always say, isn't clerical, honey. We're not secretaries, it's defensive. It's your best friend in healthcare.
And if Connecticut taught us anything, it's this: you don't want to be explaining your process after the harm is done. So, MSP reality. We've laid out cases from death by forced feeding errors to criminal prescribing, from anesthetic negligence to violent workplace tragedies. But here's the credentialing truth no one tells us out loud. MSPs are tasked with safety, and I'm going to scream it from the rooftops because we don't get the credit we deserve. And unfortunately, boards issue confidential investigations. Hospitals don't disclose what they're supposed to. MSPs are left to assume that no news means no risk, when often it's just no disclosure.
Mm-hmm. Say it again. Credentialing isn't clearance, you all. No news from a board is not good news, okay? That's why we should actively be monitoring. MSPs are asked to protect patients with one hand tied behind their back every single day. And it's not fun, y'all.
I know. So as we close out the episode, let's do a quick PSA like we normally do. PSA for our doctors, our MSPs, our patients. I know we kind of hit on it throughout the episode, but let's talk a little bit to our physicians, Shannen. What is a PSA we can give to our docs?
If you're a physician listening, especially in an academy or high-profile system, this part is for you, my love. Credentialings don't protect you from accountability, and prestige doesn't excuse silence. Every case we talked about today has one thing in common that I want you to remember. Someone assumed the system would catch it. And protocols exist for a reason. Checklists exist for a reason. Consent, supervision, escalation, reporting, none of that should be optional. And if something feels off in your practice, it probably is. If a policy feels inconvenient, it usually because it's protecting someone. And if you see behavior that crosses a line, medical, ethical, or maybe even human, silence doesn't make you neutral. It makes you a part of the problem. And I want you to know that if you do stay silent, you can directly cause harm to patients.
So let's talk a little bit about our MSPs and how much we love you. This episode was for you. Connecticut showed us that the impossible position you're often put into, you're asked to protect a patient with incomplete information, delayed disclosures, and silence. And we don't want you to have that, okay? We want you to understand, and we know we're hearing you. Document everything. Ask the uncomfortable questions and ask them again in writing. Check all the licenses. Use something where you can verify all 50 states. Escalate when your instincts say something isn't right, and never let no news be mistaken for good news. Credentialing is not clerical work, and it truly is never box checking. It is really a risk detection. And when systems fail, your documentation may be the only truth left standing. You are not overreacting. You are not being difficult. You are just doing your job.
Your job that we do so well, right?
So your patients, to our wonderful patients.
I know, to our wonderful patient population who is growing, honey. Y'all are growing, and we are so happy that you are here with us and that you are actually listening to us. And if you are a patient or if you are someone who loves someone that is a patient, please hear this. Please take notes. You are allowed to ask any darn question you want. You can say, where'd you go to school? How long were you in school? Did you like school? Did you have problems in school? Did you get your board certified? You can ask anything y'all want. I mean, did you have a good night last night? You and your wife in a good place or a bad place? I mean, maybe not ask those, but I'm just saying it could kind of give you a little feeler about the provider. So anyway, who is treating me? I mean, that's the number one, right? So it says, oh, we have Sam. Sam is new. Wait a minute, hold up. Is it Dr. Sam, nurse practitioner Sam, PA Sam? I need to know who Sam is, baby. Are they licensed? Who reviewed their credentials? You can ask these questions. Who in this building is reviewing credentials? And when was the last time that they were reviewed? What is the risk? Now Sam's taking off my bunion. What is happening? Okay. Oh Lord, I'm bleeding. Okay. How many bunions has Sam done? I mean, really, I say all of these questions to know that you can ask all of these questions. Number one, I want you to know that you can say, what is the alternative to this? What you are recommending. Oh, you need to get a hip replaced. Oh, you need to get the bunion removed. What is an alternative? Can I take some clove? Have you heard of any holistic approaches? You know, just, you want to ask those things.
Right.
Right? A white coat is not consent to touch you and tell you what needs to be done. A hospital name is not a guarantee. The prestigious, most prestigious facilities in the system, honey, we've been talking about them on these episodes. If you go and look up the case, you're going to literally see that you were talking about these on these episodes. And I'm going to tell you, feeling uncomfortable, you are not being dramatic, honey. Feeling uncomfortable means that your body is giving you a signal to ask some of these questions. Every story we told today started with someone trusting a system, right? And then they didn't feel comfortable. And then they were not protected and they had to win millions and millions of dollars. So your voice matters, your questions matter, and you deserve clear answers, baby. So ask them.
Absolutely. So Connecticut didn't fail because it lacked rules. It failed when rules weren't enforced, when silence replaced transparency, when prestige delayed accountability. And that lesson doesn't belong to just one state.
No, that's why we're spilling tea all over, baby. Connecticut does not lack credentialing criteria. They got the criteria. It lacks transparent enforcement. And it's something that we see in all the states that is lacking is transparent enforcement. When the community everybody can hold everybody accountable, then we know we're safe.
Exactly. So credentialing is not about paperwork, girl. It's about power. And when power hides behind prestige, when it moves slowly, when it stays silent, that silence becomes permission.
Nyleen, sing it to the choir, girl. Okay, let's be crystal clear. MSPs, document your license depends on it. Your document like your license depends on it, because sometimes it does. Boards, stop confusing secrecy with safety and speed with inconvenience. Boards, do your job. Leaders, silence is not strategy, it's liability. So stop playing and throwing it under the carpet. And patients, ask who reviewed your provider, ask how recently, and ask with what information they used.
Connecticut didn't scream scandal, girl. It whispered it. It protected it. It delayed it. But today, we said it out loud, Shannen.
Yes, we did, baby. Because accountability doesn't need prestige, baby. You know what it needs? Daylight. Light.
And this is Credentialing Chronicles.
That was a whole nation's worth of tea, girl.
Ooh, and we are just getting started. More states, more scandals, and definitely more receipts.
And if you love the tea we're spilling, you gotta you gotta comment, follow us, share, do everything. Where can they do all that at, Nyleen?
They can follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, on all the things. And share it because the tea is going coast to coast.
Ooh, I love it. See you next time on Credentialing Chronicles. Remember, you got to stay credentialed, but not what?
Not canceled.